Well, the last slide was pretty much the end of the performance payment model in at least the typical sense of increasing performance. It shows two different possibilities, and even though the effort method might seem better for the company, as I said, it might make workers more unhappy, and that might have its own effect also on the company, and especially in some cases, I mean, measuring the effort of the workers might also not be easy, and this whole problems of the um, well, decreasing performance level to show as if you are uh, you are basically exerting a lot of effort might be also something not that pleasant for the company. This model shows a different aspect of the performance. It shows the tendency of a worker to cheat a company or even quit from the company uh, throughout different throughout his work life or her work life. And the model is based on the assumption that the value of marginal product of the worker increases as he or she works more on the in the workplace. However, at a certain point, basically the value of marginal product starts to decrease, and W star is the payoff of the worker, payoff of not payoff workers get by not working. So it is kind of, if you don't work, it is as if you got an amount of utility and maybe also payments. Well, kind of, if you don't work, your benefits are equal to W star. Part of them might be not in monetary form, basically. And W star typically increases when you work more for a company. It's especially true for the skilled workers, and it is because usually you people accumulate wealth, so that wealth provides them income as they got older, basically, and they also have less time to live, and for them the work become more unpleasant as they got older. Um, all of these factors contribute to increase in the W star. If the payment is exactly equal to VMP, in that case, well, at the time when the worker gets most productive, basically the benefit of the worker is unlikely to quit or is most afraid from being caught showing effort level less than the minimum effort level. And the difference between value of marginal product, which is if it is equal to wage, is highest from the difference of value of marginal product and V star is highest. However, after the year T1 or somewhere around that, this difference starts to decrease, and at after that it will become actually zero. At T2 it will become zero, which means I mean wage is less than the payoff, so our worker will quit the job. Also, it's easier for them to find a job. It's assumed that way when they got more experienced, basically. So the main point is, especially after basically the year T1 is passed, older workers are more likely to basically cheat the company, because the probability of cheating company is basically if the gain of utility from reducing effort is G, and probability of being caught is P. V minus V star is basically P times V minus V star basically determines whether the person will cheat or not. G might change from person to person. I mean, it might also depend on how much they don't like the job, or if they like the job, maybe G might be smaller. Although still, I mean, even if you like the job, I mean, you might still want to decrease the effort below a certain level at certain points. But as the wage you are paid gets lower compared with your payoff, V star, you may become more likely to cheat. Actually, at least the incentive to cheat gets larger, and also the older workers might find a way to escape from being caught by cheating or reducing the effort below the minimum necessary level. But older workers might also, in many ways, necessary. I mean, even if their value of marginal product is lower, they know workplace better. They know how to work with other people, and losing them might not be something that much preferred. And also, the company might want to keep people after they work more than T1 period. So one way of doing it is actually creating a different wage pattern. This wage pattern is basically you pay less when the workers are young. You pay them less than the value of their marginal product. When they got old, you pay more than their marginal product. And assuming they will work at a certain amount of year, T2, basically throughout their life, the total wage you pay to them might still be equal to value of their marginal product. Of course, if it is just equal to value of their marginal product in monetary sense, the company might still benefit from it, because at younger age, the company will get more than the value of marginal product. In other words, exploit the young workers. In older age, it pays that money back. It is as if the company is borrowing from the workers at young age and pay them back at an older age. Of course, if the company doesn't fire the workers. In that case, the difference between the W and W star at older ages might be sufficiently high so that the older workers won't decrease their performance level below the necessary level. And at younger age, actually, at certain point, even the wage is below the W star. However, younger workers might think that in future they will anyway get a higher wage. So, considering that future payments, they might still work hard enough at years where they are not paid. They pay their wage less than their marginal product. So in this case, until they reach the tenure point T0, younger workers are paid less than their marginal product. Of course, in order to be fully accepting and comfortable with this system, the workers need to be sure that, or they need to be convinced that they won't be fired when they are older. For a new company, I mean, it might be relatively easy to cheat workers with some promises made by just wording. So the company doesn't necessarily need to follow these promises, but an older company, I mean, it might be necessary. I mean, in order to make the younger workers believe, the company might need to build a tradition, basically. That tradition might still be broken at very critical periods, basically. But then you need to establish, if you want to build this type of framework again, you need to establish the trust again between your workers and yourself, basically. Well, the point is, of course, when wage is not related to marginal productivity and all the workers get higher wage, certainly get higher wage. In that case, the workers might not retire voluntarily. In this case, there can be two things to make your workers retire. One thing is actually you may make you may force the workers to retire. For example, the state might do that. If someone gets above a certain age, they might just enforce them to retire. That's the case. I mean, and that's a case when basically the company cannot make the workers quit when they want. So there is a certain level of job security, and wage of the older people is also not correlated with their marginal productivity anyway. In this case, there is no way to, just make the old people with marginal productivity below a certain level to leave the company. So you might rather force your workers to leave the company. In this case, set at age 67 and 68, because there is no other way. For example, in the case when you make 1-year contracts, in that case, that kind of enforcement is not necessary, because in a way, the contracts are for 1 year. Whenever performance of a worker is too low, you can easily not renew the contract. But if you have tenure case, for example, with academicians, in that case, it might be necessary to put some age limit, because it is not possible to fire the academicians or make the academicians leave the university when their performance level is below a certain point. So it might be unfair for certain academicians who are still very productive after age 67. And many famous scientists are that way in the Earth history. But that's because, again, there is no mechanism to fire the workers when they become less productive. One is an incentive, alternatively, actually, especially if you're a company, you might also create a retirement plan for the workers, which means you might continue to pay to the workers when they quit the company. And as a result, since now part of this wage is anyway taken by the after a certain point, let's say T2, by the workers if they retire, this W might rise to the sufficiently high level, and which might create incentive for the workers to quit the company at an old age. So, lastly, we have another model. We have seen that detecting the productivity level of a worker might be not so easy for a company, and they might actually look to certain signals even. One method of dealing with this is having a probation period. Probation period is the period where you don't take the worker to your company permanently. Rather, you try it, and typically at the periods of trial, wages are less than the actual wage. So now, in the next part, we will look to these probation periods.